everybody? It's me, Jermaine, and I'm back with another Simple Truth news update. And here we go again, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go again. The attack on the Second Amendment and any type of personal gun ownership and the right to bear arms is once again being challenged. Now you may be saying to yourself, Jermaine, what are you talking about? Where are we going today? Well, what has just happened as of yesterday, December 3rd, 2013, there was a bill that was passed by the House. And what it was is that there is a rise today in technology. And one of the biggest things that have arisen from technology is the ability to purchase and utilize a 3D printer. And what a lot of firearms owners have done is they've learned how to be able to make a firearm via a 3D printer. You know, most of the components and most of the parts. Now, the bill is to ban any type of weapon that is made in this way. And the reason that they're using and saying, and it makes a little bit of sense, is that there needs to be some sort of, legislation on the ability of undetectable firearms to be made. But I truly believe, from a simple truth perspective, that this is only the tip of the iceberg of what that is being continually put into the face of those that support the Second Amendment and those that believe that each individual should have their right to bear arms protected. Is just another means to be able to have more and more control. Because look at it. They're already legislating to the point of no end if and how and when and maybe a person can own a firearm. And then they're giving limitations on what kind of ammunition can be used and what kind of capacity magazines can be used. That's on the side of just regular firearms. But now they're coming over, and they had no legislation before, but just as it always has to be in a big government situation, if they're not legislating it, there's something wrong with it. If they don't have some sort of control and their hands in on it, there is something wrong with it. Well, the simple truth of the whole matter is, and I've said it before, you can go back in my archives and I will say it again. I'm going to leave for you an article, a link to the article, and I'm going to include the video from the Huffington Post where this was discussed. But listen to what I'm saying. Listen to me really clearly. The simple truth of the whole matter is that no matter who you are and what you believe, we as a people are under attack. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, you name it, it's all under attack. And when you do not have proper representation, then what is it? What's going on? Well, what's going on is the interests that are being protected are not yours. The interests that are being protected are those that are in power. I want you to take a look at this article. Take a look at this video about this article. Again, I'll leave the link for the article here in the descriptions. And I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of The Simple Truth. And I want you to always remember that it's the simple things that are oftentimes the most profound, but yet they're the most difficult to put into practice and to actually do. I want to thank you once again for joining me, and I'll be sure to see you, and you again real soon.
So the Republican-led House of Representatives did something that a Republican-led House doesn't usually do. They voted in favor of gun control legislation. The House passed a 10-year extension for the 1988 Undetectable Firearms Act, which bans firearms that can evade metal detectors and X-ray machines. Now, while the House didn't modify the legislation, Senate Democrats do plan on adding a few provisions. New York Senator Chuck Schumer is putting forth a bill expanding the law to target plastic guns made with 3D printing technology. So, Zach, Are we surprised to see, some kind of a vote from Republicans when it comes to gun control, or is it just because this is a renewal and something that's been around for so long that there's really no shock here?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both, actually, because this is a law that dates back to 1988. So Republicans in the past have voted for this. It hasn't been a big thing that gun control opponents have made a fuss about. But in the past, gun control opponents haven't made a big fuss about like background checks for criminals or people who are mentally ill. And this year, obviously, that became a big deal for the NRA and other groups. So the fact that Republicans were willing to cast some sort of vote against literally undetectable firearms, which sounds pretty scary, so the sort of thing that you maybe want to have some public safety regulations around, I think is unfortunately a sign of progress given how bad the gun control debate has degenerated in Congress. But obviously there are some improvements that Democrats think need to be made. A lot of these plastic guns that are being made right now have just like a little chamber where you can put in a big hunk of metal that says, okay, this will now set off an alarm, a metal detector. You could just take that chunk of metal out, and then your plastic gun will be fine. So the renewal doesn't necessarily mean anything unless they make some significant upgrades to the text of the legislation.
Yeah, well, it's pretty scary stuff, But
secret guns.
I mean, Chuck Schumer, I think, can be a little bit of a fearmonger at times, especially with 3D printing technology.
Chuck, come on. Chuck's great.
He tends to go a little bit overboard, but I'm with him on this one. I think that the guns should be detectable, and you shouldn't just be able to, have a piece of plastic and remove it entirely. Scary stuff. But anyway,
secret guns are freaky.
Yeah.
Man.
So do you think that anyone, the Senate Republicans are going to go for Chuck Schumer's expansion there?
I mean, I think that they have the opportunity to make an argument here that this doesn't count as gun control. This is just a reasonable public safety initiative. It's not in any way impugning on innovation or anything like that. This is just a reasonable sort of public safety thing to do. The question is whether or not hardliners start freaking out about it. So far, they haven't. I think unless the NRA decides to put up a real fight over this, this type of upgrade should be a common sense thing that even the wildest anti-gun control Republicans can agree to.